What's good, guys? It's TSG. In today's video, we have another nominee for the Illuminati Council. Today, we have Zom with us. How's it going, man?
It's going good, man.
It's going good. Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you on. I seen you do the this interview with Vedamore last time, so I appreciate you coming on and doing it here with us. So, thank you again. But let's not
Dude,
waste
anytime.
let's not waste any time and let's get straight into it. Yeah. I'm keen to hear what your perspectives are on all these questions. So the first question I have to you is about the never-ending discussion, the never-ending conversation around the duration of epochs. Right now, we've got 3 months per epoch, and actually, currently, right now, overnight, there's been a proposal to extend that to 6 months. So this conversation might have a bit more weight now that the proposal is out there. What are your thoughts on the duration of the epoch? Do you think it should be extended? How long should it be extended for? And why do you think we should go in that direction?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way I see it is that the shorter the epoch length, right, the more accountability we have to the token holder, right? So if I vote for something, and that's okay with everyone, then great. But if it's not, they can vote me out quickly and replace me with someone that represents their views more, right? So it's
Yep.
like more accountability on a shorter time frame.
Yep.
So in other words, like it's more populist. It can respond to community
Hmm.
feedback faster. I guess the other benefit is that you can capture newly available talent, right? Like say you didn't exist in the community 2 months ago, now you do, you can enter this epoch, but if it was 6 months, you'd be kind of locked out.
Yep.
So that's kind of I kind of see that as the broad benefit of shorter epoch length.
Hmm.
The flip side is the longer you get, it's the same, with the difference between the Senate and the House in America.
Yep.
It's the lower percentage of the time you spend campaigning, right, onboarding into the job, more time you actually have to,
Do the job.
learn
Yeah.
it, do it, be more substantive. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Do the thing you were hired to do. Um, it in this instance, it allows you to have kind of a deeper level of chemistry, familiarity with both the team and the other council,
Mhm.
um, and just generally kind of brings a more substantive, less performative kind of vibe to it.
Yep.
More predictability for the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So to get to the meat of it, I think 3 months was probably fine earlier on because it allowed us to go through a lot of cycles, allowed everyone in the community to see what governance was like in this project many, many times, and allowed us to iterate on it.
Yep.
But I think now, as the project is maturing, it's probably a good time to try extending it and seeing whether or not that's a net positive, seeing whether or not that slows or speeds things up for the team.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Like I support the thing proposed earlier. I think 6 months is fine. I think 4 months is fine. I think if I had to choose, I would go with six.
Yep.
I think it's that sweet spot of different enough to feel or
To
understand
gauge.
differences.
Yep.
Yeah, it's different enough to feel a difference,
Yeah.
but it's not too different as to be extreme and like really upset the balance and need to be backpedaled. So I think
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yep. Cool. So you're down to you would be open to a 4 month or 6 month. Obviously, you're leaning towards a 6 month, and pretty much
Yeah.
yeah, and pretty much everything that you were saying there was around the actual job of the council members. Another side of the discussion that I've been hearing is the side on the actual community members and how that's going to affect the community as a whole. Just because we know in general in life, the whole thing about voting and a lot of people think it's a nuisance, and that's once every 4 years in America. Um, so, like as we have it, if we have it in 3 months, do you think that by having it in shorter periods, we're going to have a decrease in turnout for voters for votes? Do you think extending it to 6 months is going to create more engagement? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it could go either way, right? Because in one sense, the longer the epoch, the more special each voting period is, right?
Yep.
Like you don't have to go and vote for your local representative every week.
Yep.
Like you wouldn't do that; it'd become a chore.
Yeah.
But every 4 or 5 years, that's great.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, the more frequent the elections, the more pings we as a community get about the fact that elections exist, the more knowledgeable we get on the process, the
Yep.
more we might involve ourselves. So it's kind of the flip. There's two sides to that.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard to tell without ever changing it.
Yeah. So it makes sense to kind of test it out, gauge the data that we get from that, and then make a proper, more informed decision after that. That's a
Absolutely,
fair statement. Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the second question, man. And again, this is a crazy topic that's been blowing up in the IIP chat for like the last couple of days now. The revenue from the land. So this land sale we have coming up on June 2nd is going to be the first example of revenue distribution in the DAO. It's going to be the first example of a large amount of revenue being distributed back to stakeholders. And the conversation that's being had is, how do we distribute that? Do we distribute that in one lump sum payment? Do we distribute that over a period of time? What should that period look like? Where do you stand on this conversation, and why?
Sure. So I think the first question is the easiest one. I don't think anyone is really seriously arguing for a lump sum. I don't think there are any real benefits to that, right? Because you get mercenary capital, it swings in, sucks up the yield, leaves the project.
Yep.
Quite extractive. So I think I've seen kind of two main solutions to that, right? Like one is, as you said, you spread over a longer duration. The second is you add some form of lag time between the initial stake and the distribution eligibility, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, like you stake today, you can't get RevDis for another few weeks, month, whatever stops you. I think that generally speaking, one of the goals of this, right, we want to incentivize more people to stake their tokens. We want them to stake them for longer. We want the user-facing UX to be simple. We want to avoid front running. We want to do all this stuff. So if you're trying to make more people stake their tokens and you want the user-facing UX to be simple, you don't want to have a high barrier to involvement, right? So that cuts out that lag time off the bat.
Yeah.
So that brings you down to spread over a longer duration.
Yeah.
So if we agree there, and I think that from what I've seen in the discussion, which has been super healthy and I've loved it, that everyone seems to basically agree on that. There's not really any controversy there. Everyone's like, yeah, we should probably spread it out. It's just people kind of, and now that step deeper and everyone's working out the details. Everyone's kind of getting into the meat of it and trying to feel out what's the most kind of efficient, high efficacy way of doing that.
Yeah.
As for now, if we're going into the weeds a little bit, my favorite suggestion so far, my favorite kind of vibe so far is some form of set and forget, right? Where you use a percentage of the revenue escrowed into a contract, and you buy that, you make market purchases on a daily, through a certain number of transactions, right? And you have some form of random number generator in each of these steps.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have some form of randomness, then you're going to have people swinging in and front running and abusing that and botting it. So I love that. I saw a great suggestion for potentially kind of weighting by slippage, just for additional. There's like so many layers to that, but basically some form of that.
Yeah.
Makes the most sense to me.
Right. Cool. And how long? Like, do you have a rough idea of how long you would like to see it be spread out for? Like, would that a longer duration? Would that be 1 month? Would that be 6 months? Would that be a year? How long do you reckon? And again, we're specifically talking about this particular land sale, not every revenue generated in the future, just this land sale particularly.
Yeah, no, I love it. As Andrew would say, land, landy, land. Yeah. I mean, I think with the length of the spread, I think the longer the spread, right? Like if the revenue comes in and then it's eked out over a longer period of time, it's harder to be a mercenary. It rewards the longer term stakers, and it's more consistent and less volatile in terms of the ILV price. The shorter the spread, it's easier to front run, but you also get less wasted yield, right? Like it's not hanging out in a contract when you could be doing stuff with it.
Exactly what I was going to ask you, because I was going to say that was the flip side. The other side that I've been hearing is if we do it too long, there's the opportunity cost that if we get it, we could stake it, we could do something else with it. And if it's too long, we might miss out on those opportunities, even for long-term stakers. I'm sure they have things that they want to do with that. So yeah, I'm glad that you addressed
No,
that.
absolutely. And there's layers to that too, right? Because if we're taking like this revenue, distribution cake and we're putting it somewhere, where we put it to gain this yield is like adds on layers of risk to the contract, right?
Yep.
Because if say we're like throwing it in Yearn or Compound or Aave, that's us as a entire project of, hundreds of employees, but also like thousands, tens of thousands, hundred thousands of stakers are putting our faith in a project that isn't this project, and that's may not necessarily be what we're buying into.
Yeah.
If their team that we're not involved with screws up, then we pay for it.
Exactly,
So there's layers to that for sure.
Yeah.
I think to give it like a concrete answer, like from the data I've seen, I think somewhere between 1 and 7 months seems to be about right.
Yep.
But within that we can tweak it over time again, like as we see things.
Yep. Fair. No, that's cool. That's cool. I think that's I think based on the discussions we've seen, 1 to 7 is a pretty popular stance somewhere in there. All right, let's move on to the third question, my man, and that is again another conversation that I've been seeing, especially on Reddit, has been the conversation around fluctuating fuel prices and how that's going to affect just everything in general, and how that's going to affect the player base for the overworld. Because obviously a fluctuating fuel price means that the price to just play the game and enter the game is going to fluctuate too. What are your thoughts on that? Where do you stand on that? Should, like, the discussions have been, should we have fuel price being a stable set number so someone playing the game always knows what they're expected to pay? Do you think that the 25% rail is fair and it creates a somewhat open market feel? Or do you think we should get rid of the rails completely and actually give it a completely real market vibe to what's actually going on?
Yeah, this is a great question. So I've always subscribed to the kind of product mindset of Alan Zhang, who, for those unaware, is like the guy behind WeChat. He's like a super brilliant product mind.
Yep.
His viewpoint is that UX is always the priority. Like you never want to sacrifice the user experience. If something interferes with the user experience, get rid of the other thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's nuance through that perspective to this, right? Because you both have the user experience of the person coming in and like not wanting to spend $10 one day for one thing, and then the next day it's $30. They just want to sit down, play, like put their coin in the slot machine and play the game, right? Like they don't want to have to like, I need to go make myself some breakfast and come back because later it might be cheaper. Like us all watching the gas prices, they might not want to do that. So there's that side of it. But then there's also the person who wants to play the meta game with the arbitrage of the fuel prices, right? And wants to like play the market with the different fuels over time with the different arbitrage opportunities.
Yeah.
So I think that allowing both of those players to have a good time is a positive for the game. And I think that where it is right now is fine for that.
Yeah.
But like it suits both. It strikes that middle ground.
Yeah.
In terms of the specific number, like with most of the things, most of the details kind of getting fleshed out at this point by the council and the team, right? A lot of it is as much art as it is science, because we're all kind of guessing at behaviors. And so once it's in the hand of players and we see like, the degens, right, are going to jump in and be as adversarial and as exploitative as they can, right? And that's going to like test things. And once it's been through that absolute shitstorm, then we will kind of feel out more where the numbers need to be.
Yeah.
But for launch, I think 25 is fine.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Again, it's one of those things where try it out first. Once we get the actual data, we can make a better informed decision. So no, that's fair. All right.
Yeah,
man.
it doesn't seem wrong in this case.
Yeah. No, fair. All right, so let's go on to the final question, man. I've always been ending these off with a fun little question to finish off. With the land sale coming up, with the two tier 5s being sold and the arenas being sold on them, if by some miracle, you were able to get the naming rights for one of these arenas, what would you name the arena?
Oh gosh. So I think the like the smart answer is to just like whoever like pays you the most, right? You sell it to Twitch or you sell it
So many
to
people have said
like
that.
yeah, like that's the smart answer. Like it is. Like that
Yeah.
is the right answer. That's what anyone getting a T5 is gonna do probably, unless
Yeah.
they're like want to brand themselves.
Yep. Yep.
I
Yep.
think probably what I if we let's put that off the table. Let's just throw that away.
Yeah.
If I in a vacuum without that,
Yeah.
I would 100% troll with it, right?
Yeah.
Like it would be like Kieran sucks, like TSG is bad at Smash,
Yeah.
right? Like it
Oh,
would be.
yo, fighting words.
You see what I mean? Like imagine having that being read out loud every time people had to
Yeah.
play in that arena.
Yeah.
It would bring me such like troll joy.
And just change it
So
every
yeah.
competition as well. Just change the troll name every
It
competition.
would basically anyone that like decided to like give me some trash talk, I would just change the name of the arena, right?
Yeah,
To
ultimate
like
flex. Ultimate flex.
yeah.
But yeah. All right, now awesome, man. Yo, thank you again. Thank you so much for coming on. I feel like your answers were really, really well thought out. Before we go though, is there anything that you want to leave us with? How should people contact you if they want to? Is it Discord, Twitter? What's the best way to reach you?
Either or, Twitter at ZomGMI.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, with a leaving thought, probably is just like, hey, like, if anyone is watching this and they like this kind of content, give this man in front of you some love. Smash the what is it? Smash the like and subscribe.
Like, subscribe,
Give the
notifications.
notifications. Follow him on Twitter.
Oh,
pester him to make more of these things every 3-6 months, whatever. Give him some love.
Yo, thank you, man. Yo, thank you for the plug. I don't feel like I need to do the plug now. But yeah, so everyone get involved. Again, I've got a playlist of all of these nominee interviews, so check them out, get informed, decide who you want to vote for, who's going to represent yourself. Voting starts May 28th to June 2nd, so coming up soon. And I believe we're actually working on a debate that's going on the first day of voting, May 28th. So I'll get more information and put that out there as well. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys for watching. Like Zom said, like, subscribe, hit the notification button. I appreciate you all. And again, thank you, Zom, for coming on. And everyone, peace out.